What's up, everybody? How you doing? Adam Cast here, ready with my buddy Ian. How you doing?
What up? Good to go.
Today we're going to do a deep dive into Nikola Tesla. This guy, he is amazing. I've been researching him all day. I've already kind of known a lot about him, but today I really wanted to refresh my brain about who he is, what he does. And man, I am more impressed now than ever about what this guy's done. And man, that's really cool. But before we get into that, we're going to talk a little bit about some people saying we weren't really correct on some stuff from yesterday's. What was the list?
That's right. So we have some clarifications from yesterday. Three things in particular.
Right.
One was we were talking about dinosaur bones.
Right, dinosaur bones.
Some people said that there's no such that you never actually find a bone in all of these like museums. There's no actual bones, and that's because the bones themselves have been mineralized and they've turned into fossils. So you're either going to find fossils,
Yeah.
which are like rock.
Yeah, here's the definition of a fossil. It says any preserved remains, impression, or trace of once living thing from a past geological age. So technically, I didn't see dino bones as a kid. I saw a bunch of fossils that were either the actual rock that they found or casts of the rocks. But that still doesn't change the fact in my mind they got it from the rock somewhere, and the dinosaur did die, however long it did die ago. So, you know, it wasn't, I don't know, I wasn't far off, but I wasn't technically correct, so that's all right. No worries.
Yeah, it's complicated.
Yeah. But one thing I found out I wasn't incorrect about. Someone kept telling me that the number of SpaceX Starlink satellites that were going to go up was only going to be, what did they say, like, I don't know,
1,100 by 2027, I think.
So I actually read somewhere, and I actually have a little thing to show you here. They talk about, let's see, where is it? Man, there's a bunch of stuff here. Here we go. So it says, Starlink aims to expand its service to customers globally next year, which will require even more launches and much larger constellation. That's the ground network that they need to make them work. And ultimately, the company has filed documents indicating it could launch between 12,000 and 42,000. So I actually said 30,000 yesterday, and it turns out it could be even more satellites in the long run, which actually are 30,000 seemed like a lot to me, and so to find out that it could be up to 42,000 is pretty nuts. So,
but also to clarify that there are only 422 in the sky right now.
Right, currently there's only 422, and they're not even able to work because of the constellation network has yet to be installed in the ground for them to relay all the information back. So that's interesting. And then what was that last one?
The final thing is this hollow moon.
Hollow moon.
I talked about how the moon
let you
may or
talk
may not
about
be
that.
hollow because planet Theia smashed through Earth 3.6 billion years ago and formed this metal coagulation. But this came from a 1970 story released in Popular Mechanics where they said that the moon rang like a bell when, and I'll read about this, the suggestion of a hollow moon first appeared in science fiction. Blobbity blobbity, that's not what I'm looking for.
Well, I mean, you kind of said it, right? You basically said it. It was just they said it in that magazine, and that kind of led to whatever. Either way, we know it's not true. The hollow moon thing was just kind of it turns out it was just a story that someone heard somewhere in a magazine, and it turned into another thing.
They set up explosives on the planet, and it did. Here we go.
You found it? Here, go ahead.
Yeah, between 1972 and 1977, seismometers installed on the moon by the Apollo missions recorded moonquakes. And the moonquakes are described as ringing like a bell during some of the quakes, specifically the shallow ones. The phrase was brought to popular attention in March 1970 in an article in Popular Science when Apollo 12 deliberately crashed the ascent stage of the lunar module onto the moon's surface.
Oh, yeah. See, that's what I thought. I thought it had something to do with a spacecraft landing hard, and that's where the moon ringing was from.
Mm-hmm. So it is possible that it's like 3.3 grams per centimeter squared, whereas the Earth is 5.5 grams per centimeter squared density. So it's less dense than the Earth. It may not actually be hollow. I don't think it has to be either solid or empty, but it could be like a mesh. If it was produced from some sort of magmatic explosion, that it might be more of like a web inside of rock.
Interesting. Well, one of our segments we're going to go into today is the Artemis Project, which kind of talks about what we're going to be doing on the moon. So we'll find out. You know, they're planning on 2024 landing new Americans on the moon, and it's going to be really exciting. Although I did hear that they're going to push it back. But enough about all that. Let's get into the man of the hour, Nikola Tesla. This guy, oh man, he is an incredible man. I watched the whole thing. It turns out he was actually really into ancient Egypt also. I'm really fascinated by, what the pyramids were, what that whole thing was. And it seems that he actually was kind of obsessed with them also. And it kind of helped spawn his whole mind because he was very into his imaginary side of him. And that kind of spawned his genius. He would imagine things and make them happen in life. So let's just, I have his wiki pulled up right here. I'm just going to read a little bit about, the type of person he was, where he came from, just to give everyone a little bit of a backstory about him. He was born and raised in the Austrian Empire. He studied engineering and physics in the 1870s without receiving a degree and gained practical experience in the early 1880s working for in telephony and the Continental Edison in the new electric power industry. He emigrated in 1884 to the United States, where he became a naturalized citizen. He worked for a short time at Edison Machine Works in New York City before he struck out on his own. That's interesting because I actually thought Edison screwed him over. And I actually said that the other day when we kind of talked about this, and I was wrong, actually. It wasn't Edison. Edison kind of just said, we're sticking with DC current. And Tesla was like, no, I believe AC current is the way, and he knew the way.
Although I just read that Tesla worked with Edison for 6 months and then quit. And while he was there, one of the managers said, if you can invent 24 different machines, we'll give you $50,000. So when Tesla actually invented them, the guy was like, haha, you don't understand American humor, was his response.
Oh,
and then,
ouch.
And then he quit.
That makes sense to me. He was a dreamer. This guy, Tesla, he imagined these things in his head, built them, tested them in his head, and then said, okay, now it'll work. Let's build it. And he built it and it worked. It's really amazing. This guy had over 200 patents. But let's talk about what AC and DC is, because maybe not everyone knows. AC means alternating current. DC is direct current. So I'll just read about this. I got a little article comparing the two. It says, electricity flows in two different ways, either an alternating current or in a direct current. Electricity or current is nothing but the movement of electrons through a conductor, like a wire. The difference between AC and DC lies in the direction in which the electrons flow. In DC, the electrons flow steadily in a single direction or forward. In AC, electrons keep switching directions, sometimes going forward, then sometimes backwards. Alternating current is the best way to transmit energy or electricity over large distances. And that's actually the key of why AC is so much better, because we can have one power plant supplying a huge amount of area instead of a bunch of different generators everywhere to supply the same amount of energy. And the problem that no one could figure out was the AC motor itself. And that's what Tesla actually designed, the AC motor. And it was, I don't have any article. I'm kind of going off what I remember from this documentary I watched. And essentially, the DC motors at the time were creating sparks. There was metal on metal, grinding, and it would wear down, and the direct current would run out of energy by the time it got to where it was going. So he knew that the world needed something better, and he actually created the AC motor. But this was later on, after he actually got cut off from working with what's his name, Edison. Oh. Yeah, and it's so he struck out on his own and actually started working with Westinghouse, who was a rich man. He created the air brake for a train, for like the trains. Trains were huge. This is late 1890s, I think it was like 1890 or something like that. And he started working with Westinghouse because Westinghouse was trying to branch out. Like, I want to make more money now. Like, what's the new thing? And Edison's creating these light bulbs. It's like this new revolutionary thing. Like, we take light for granted. Like, we got all these studio lights in here, and it's like, I flip a switch. I don't even think about it. Do you think about it?
Very rarely.
I just need light. You flip it on. But like, imagine having to light a candle for your only light source.
You know,
It's
in like a huge segment of the world, like 1 billion people still use kerosene to light kids, and like and it's really bad for your lungs.
Oh,
to breathe.
kerosene, like the gas.
It's like a leading cause of death in a lot of these third world countries and places. I don't even like saying that third world. I feel weird just labeling people like that, but people that don't have access to the light.
Yeah, it's insane. It's definitely something that we take for granted. The whole just being able to flip a light switch on. So, he started working with Westinghouse, and Westinghouse was basically said to him, let's do this. Like, I'll give you your money. Like, we can. He struck a contract with them, and the contract was actually really great. Tesla had a really good deal. He said, I'm going to get X amount of dollars, which is a pretty good amount of money back then. And he was going to get, I think, like $2.50 per horsepower of power that every single horsepower of power that his motors produced. And that's a lot of money. That's like a crazy amount of money. So if he actually, I mean, I'll talk about what happened with this contract, because it's kind of a sad story. This is probably the biggest downfall of Tesla, but also it makes him so much of a boss, that like what he did here. So Westinghouse was going broke. The whole venture with AC, that he did create the AC motor, and it worked, and it was proving that it was better than DC. And Westinghouse went to Tesla and said, "Look, I'm running out of money. I can't pay you what I promised you with this contract. If we keep this contract and I have to give you this money, like, we're gonna go broke, and the whole project is done." Now, I don't know if that's true or not. This is America. Like you just said, American humor, like they totally screwed him out. Like, who knows? Westinghouse might have just been screwing with him. But Tesla ripped up the contract. He straight up was like, no worries. Like, let's give it to the public. Like, I believe in AC power that much. I'm giving up my rights, his royalties that he was going to make. Like, he would have made, had he kept that contract, he would have been richer than J.P. Morgan, Westinghouse, Edison. He would have been his own. Tesla would have been on the map on that level. But instead, he ripped it up, and Westinghouse, of course, was able to then stay and continue making these motors.
And like Einstein, one of the things about him is he worked in a patent office when he was a kid. Yeah, like that's how he got started. So
someone actually mentioned in the chats before we started that Einstein got a lot of his ideas from Tesla.
That's wild.
Which is interesting. Like, Tesla's the grandfather.
Dude, let's keep going on Tesla.
Man, Tesla, man, he's...
Oh, so I wanted to ask the chat, where was the first time? What was the first time you ever learned about Tesla?
Yeah, this is interesting. We were talking about it. I didn't hear about Tesla in school. I don't know how many people here actually heard about Tesla in school.
I never did.
Yeah, no, it's...
and I'll tell you the first...
I don't know.
Where was the first time you ever heard of him?
I'm trying to think about it. I don't really know. I think it was sometime in my 20s, when I started doing a lot of research on stuff that I liked to research, just randomly filling my brain with stuff, documentaries, and just started learning more about it. Maybe it was... Actually, it might have been from that movie. There was this... What is this movie? I forget what it is. It's about this magician who was jealous of this other magician because he was doing, I think Christian Bale's in it.
Is it The Prestige?
Yes, The Prestige.
I've never seen that.
It might have been this movie that I was like, what? This is so cool, that this whole Tesla guy. I mean, I knew about him, but it didn't really dig into like who he was. But in this movie, one of the magicians goes to Tesla and says, like, design me a magic trick. And I mean, I guess I'm not going to spoil the movie, but essentially he designs him this machine and it creates a magic trick. You can go watch the movie if you want to watch the rest. It's really cool. But I was like, oh, that's really cool. Yeah, Prestige. And Tesla, man, blew me away.
The first time I heard about him was from Command and Conquer Red Alert, the video game, when if you play as the Russians, you can build Tesla towers. And I was like, what if those were real? Whoa.
Actually, that's a good time to drop in. Look at this. Oh, yeah. He found this Tesla tower in Russia. It's actually real. That you can see this Tesla tower.
And they're not actual Tesla coils.
No.
In the same sense that what Tesla was building. These are more capacitors that they charge in parallel and then open up in sequence to produce lightning, like high levels to test on, you were saying, on airplanes.
Yeah, it's to test the insulation of airplanes. But it's really cool, though, that
they look
the first time you heard of him is from the Russian forces who made, and
they
actually did kind of create... I mean, they weren't actual Tesla towers, but
Slavic, is that what you, yeah.
yeah, it's, you know, and what's really awesome about Tesla is he wanted humans to have this power. You know, he knew that AC current was better than DC current. It was safer, it was more efficient, and he actually dreamed past AC. Like, he got to a point where he wanted to create free energy pulled out of the air, and he actually designed it. And it's pretty incredible. I mean, we're gonna talk about his experiments in a little bit, but before that, I want to talk about the kind of man that is. Like, that's awesome. The kind of person that will forego their own chance at fortune for the human race. That's a hero to me. Like, Tesla is so much more than an inventor to me and a scientist. Like, he's a real life hero that wanted to. I mean, he was a little kooky. I'm finding out he was a little crazy, a little OCD about things, but he also wanted and believed what he was doing was for the betterment of humans, and that's awesome. And there's another person that I want to give a shout out to, Jonas Salk. How many of you have heard this? Who this is? You know, I didn't know this person's name, and I recently learned about it, and it's incredible. This is the guy who came up and discovered the vaccine for polio. So polio was a pretty serious thing we'd have to deal with as humans. Do you know anyone with polio?
Negative.
I don't know anyone with polio because it's not around anymore because of this man. And you know what? He made that vaccine open source and free. He gave the patent to the public, basically.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Elon did that recently. He opened up a bunch of his...
What was it? What did he give out?
I think it was for a bunch of his cars. For
really?
A bunch of his Tesla cars.
The programming.
Or was it the power wall? A bunch of his stuff at Tesla.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So that's awesome.
Yeah, we were talking, too, about the company. I founded Minds.com. I co-founded it with Bill Ottman in 2011. And it's a free software organization, so... It's similar along those lines. It's difficult to raise money when you don't have proprietary or private code that you can sell and hold on to. When your code is open and free, other people can take it and start their own company with that code, and it's totally legal for them to sell it. So, but you got to give it away at some point. It's not about the money. It's about, the benefit.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. I want to see more of that. That's really cool that Elon's actually kind of doing that with Tesla's name on his company. Totally. Just like, man, Elon, he is doing some cool stuff. I mean, I don't know too much about Elon Musk. Maybe we should do a deep dive on Elon Musk next, because it's really cool. I see someone in the chat just said Tesla invented the earthquake machine. I actually don't even know what that is, but I have a list of his experiments that never got built. And I'm going to talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I lived like 10 blocks away from his laboratory where he was creating that earthquake.
Yeah.
I just found that out.
Yeah, and I guess he was in love with a pigeon. I don't know if you know about this. So near the end of his life, he kind of started losing it. I mean, he did get the raw end of the stick often, and just people took credit for his work. The guy who created radio, or supposedly created radio, just used all of his patents. And then actually after Tesla died, they were like, you know what? We're going to go ahead and give Tesla he created radio. I don't actually have the guy's name pulled up, but he didn't create radio.
Marconi?
Marconi, yeah, that's right. So, but he didn't create radio, so it's like, nah, it was Tesla. I'll just go with that because I know it was Tesla. So that's interesting. I'm gonna jump over to Super Chats and see how you guys are doing. I don't know how we have. I appreciate you guys joining up. I know a lot of people are asking where Tim is, and he's in California now. He's obviously not here with us, and I appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with me. I know it's not what you expected. The Timcast show is usually Tim, driving the car, and I'm just sitting in the passenger seat over there, and it's a lot different, this show. But I'm having a lot of fun, and I appreciate you guys coming. And if you want, like and subscribe. Hopefully, Tim will be back. Not hopefully he'll be back. He'll be back, but he is in California for the Joe Rogan show. He's going to go on Monday. Or I think on Monday. That was the plan earlier in the week. So, let's read some super chats. SH1T Head says, most museums don't have the actual fossils on the whole dinosaur displays due to the fact that the fossils are extremely fragile, so casts painted to the color are used for the big displays instead. That's actually kind of what I alluded to the other day, that I know that it's not even all real bones or fossils. Most of it's just, fake to fit the rest of it, but that doesn't matter. I still saw them with my own eyes. The whole reason I was talking about it is because my Sunday school teacher told me dinosaurs weren't real, and I was just like, what? Yes, they were. Dark Renji, what's good? You and Tim ever thought about doing the show sometimes on weekends? We've been asked to do the show on weekends. Tim works like a machine all week long, and including our show, which is Monday through Friday. So his weekend afternoon night times are his only time, because he works during the day. He gets up on the weekends also and works all the way till 4 or 5 p.m. sometimes. So those are the only times he gets off. So we're going to just let him have those days off, because everyone needs a little bit of time away. Steven Suarez, hey, what's good? He's saying, I'm pretending Adam is Jared Leto as I use my hands to shove this $5 bill down your back pocket. Be grateful it's not down a side pocket. Okay. Well, thank you for that. $5. Justice says, is Soy Jesus vegan? He kind of not.
Once in a while. I have been for about 40 hours.
Yeah.
Before that,
it depends on what he ate last.
I cook vegan for the most part. I feel like cooking meat is kind of a cheat because it's so easy to make meat taste good.
Okay.
I'll take the most bland ingredients like celery, onion, and I'll add salt and different types of vinegar, red wine, a little balsamic white wine, tarragon vinegar with some olive oil, a little coconut oil, mix with the oils. You get your
Celery's gross.
It is pretty,
celery's gross.
So when you can make it taste like Taco Bell, that's my goal, is to make this vegan.
I don't know if you know this. Celery is one of the few foods that actually take more energy to consume than you get from the food itself.
So good.
No, why?
Definitely eat more celery.
I'll never understand celery. Matthew Hammond says, mother of Joe Biden's accuser called Larry King. Okay, I didn't hear that, but thanks. Chuck Morris says, Tesla was a ditch digger. Would you listen to him? He was, actually. When he left working for Edison, he had no money. He expected people to just fund his projects because he believed in them that much that he ran out of money living in New York, because he had just gotten there, basically, and ran out of money that he had gained from Edison and was ditch digging. And that's around the time that he was going to different places, and that's when he approached Westinghouse, and Westinghouse happened to want a piece of that electric money.
I just dug a ditch out back.
Yeah.
That ditch over here,
Mm-hmm.
I just dug that with a pickaxe, and it's
That's not a ditch.
I figured out a
He's
great
lying.
technique. You bring it down forward with the sharp end of the pick, like that. You stick it in the dirt, and then you pry up all the roots, and then you flip it over and use the flat part to kind of scoop the dirt away.
I think a ditch, you got to be past your hips.
Yeah, it was more of like a crevice.
Yeah, it's like 7 inches deep.
I was like, I'm a ditch digger now.
You're not a ditch digger. That's funny though. The Rising Refugee says, all the talk about Tesla makes me really want to watch The Prestige. Yeah, watch it. It's a cool movie. I really did enjoy that movie. I like that movie. I kind of want to watch it too. It's been a while. All Metal Mike. Oh, geez, I just got to jump. All Metal Mike says, the difference between Tesla and Edison is the difference between Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. One creates and one makes a business out of creations. You got a good point. It's very true. Yep. Edison, turns out he wasn't as much of an inventor as just bringing inventors together and using that, which in itself, it's not necessarily a bad thing. There's a leader. There's a video flying around. I don't know who it is. I can't remember, but I think he's like a leader of some country, and people were like, well, you're not the best. And he's like, yeah, I know, but I bring the best people around me. I bring the best scientists that are smarter than me. I bring the best military people that are smarter than me, and I surround myself with all these people that are smarter than me, and they help me make the right decisions. And I was like, dang, that's solid. I'm sure you guys might know who that is, but I can't think of it. Let's see. Bobcat says Edison didn't even invent patent theft. He stole that like every other invention of his, quote unquote, his. Yep, it's true. I haven't done a big deep dive into Edison, so I probably should before I start, seeing. I don't know. Not actually. CDW says Nispy, and he repeats it over and over again, and I don't know what that means.
Oh, that's penis, but you say it the end of the word first. Nesp, and it starts to sound like.
So now you said it.
Oops.
I mean, it's too late now.
Yeah, we used to do that as a
Hey, Marak says Tesla's oscillator dude made an earthquake in New York City in 1898. That's cool. We're gonna actually talk about all of these experiments next. Mark G says everyone praises and raves over Tesla, but nobody ever talks about Joseph Gaetti. He put up with so much crap to contribute to the world. I don't know who that is, but if what you say is true, I should know who that is, and I will dig into that. James Flower says, FYI, Benjamin Franklin invented the lightning rod, refused to patent it, saying if it saved a single life, it was payment enough for him. What a boss.
Franklin.
That's a boss right there. Good man. J.R. Philippe says, ancient history is proving every day that our inventions are just reinventions. Tesla understood that. Yeah, and we're going to actually dig into that because of the Egyptian pyramids. I love the pyramids. I geek out on ancient Egypt stuff, and we're gonna dig in that in a little bit.
I just looked up Joseph Gaetti. He invented toilet paper.
That's hilarious. Everyone should be praising him right now because clearly the world needs their toilet paper. Oh, that's funny. Let's see. 98 Killer says 70% of polio outbreaks are Gates vaccine strain. Yeah, that's interesting. I thought we beat polio a long time ago.
Well, yeah, I did hear that it had made a resurgence.
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, that's interesting, and that's goes into the deep dark of conspiracies. Wolf at DeLion says, "Did you look at Q yet? Out of Shadows, Ray Chandler. I watched Out of Shadows today, actually, and yeah, it's a documentary." UU63 says 1943 Tesla's death. FBI agents that included none other than John G. Trump, Donald's uncle, emptied the Tesla vaults after the Trump fortune came. So maybe they took all that stuff and made a fortune out of it. Who knows? Eric Rhodes says Trump's uncle bought Tesla's patents. You should look into that. So I guess you guys are knowledgeable about that. I don't know anything about that, but that's really interesting. Slanty Chauffeur Bear says conductor of the orchestra. Okay. Nathaniel Turner says that was Trump. Well, I guess I didn't know there was any sort of correlation between Tesla and Trump, but now I'm really interested to dig more into that because after Tesla died, all his research disappeared. They went in and just took all his stuff. I don't know where that ended up, but that's really interesting. Trump's uncle. Yeah, I really want to dig into that. But let's talk about his stuff that he built. So this is an interesting article. It says 6 brilliant Tesla inventions that never got built. And they're interesting. The first one, of course, is the earthquake machine that you guys have been talking about. And I'll read about it here. It says, in 1893, Tesla patented a steam-powered mechanical oscillator that would vibrate up and down at high speeds to generate electricity. Years after patenting his invention, he told reporters that one day while attempting to tune his mechanical oscillator to the vibration of the building housing his New York City laboratory, he caused the ground to shake. During the test, Tesla continuously turned up the power and heard cracking sounds. Suddenly, he recalled, all the heavy machinery in the place was flying around. I grabbed a hammer and broke the machine. The building would have been down about our ears in another few minutes. Police and ambulances arrived on the scene to attend to the commotion, but Tesla told his assistants to remain quiet and tell the police it must have been an earthquake. Wow, that's crazy. So he actually made all the machines fly around the room.
I think that I read that people had a hard time reproducing this, but it's because it's not, you got to hit that resonating frequency to really start to make things vibrate.
Right, the frequency of the surrounding machines.
Yeah, the walls and whatever he was touching into.
Yeah. Man, this guy was ahead of his time. Let's see, let's dig into it. The thought camera. This is actually really cool. Tesla believed it could be possible to photograph thoughts. The inspiration came while he was doing experiments in 1893. Tesla told a newspaper reporter decades later, I became convinced that a definite image formed in thought must, by reflex action, produce a corresponding image on the retina, which might possibly be read by a suitable apparatus. End quote. The inventor conceived of reflecting an image of an artificial retina, taking a photograph and projecting the image on a screen. If this can be done successfully, then the objects imagined by a person would be clearly reflected on the screen as they are formed, he said. And in this way, every thought of an individual could be read. Our minds would then indeed be like open books. It's kind of frightening, actually, at the same time, if that's true. Obviously, it's not true. Although you did kind of show that article to me.
There's like an AI algorithm.
There's a YouTube video that Ian found that basically shows an image and then a recording of the brain waves that kind of resembles. It's not perfect. It's very, very rudimentary. It's like watching a 4K screen turned into a grayed out 8-bit.
If you want to watch it, the YouTube video is called Movie Reconstruction from Human Brain Activity. And it definitely sounds different than what Tesla was imagining.
Yeah.
But because he built so many awesome things, I think that he must have been onto something.
Oh, man. He was definitely onto something. Dude. So this is my favorite right here. This one right here. Wireless energy. This is incredible. This is kind of the end of his career, basically. After this, his life kind of spiraled away. It's really sad. In 1901, Tesla secured $150,000 from a financier, J.P. Morgan, to build a 185-foot tall mushroom-shaped tower on the north shore of Long Island, capable of transmitting messages, telephone, and images to ships at sea and across the Atlantic Ocean by using the Earth to conduct signals. As work began on the structure, called the Warden Cliff Tower, Tesla wanted to adapt it to allow wireless power delivery, believing from his experiments on radio and microwaves that he could light up New York City by transmitting millions of volts of electricity through the air. Morgan, however, refused to give Tesla any additional funding for his grandiose schemes. Some speculate that Morgan cut off funds once he realized that Tesla's plan would have crippled his other energy-seeking holdings, or energy sector holdings, rather. Tesla abandoned the project in 1906 before it could ever become operational, and Warden Cliff Tower was dismantled in 1917. Actually, it wasn't dismantled. They blew it up with dynamite.
Whoa.
Yeah, I guess he ran out of money and ended up owing the hotel that he was staying at so much that he gave them the property of Warden Cliff Tower. Wow. And they couldn't sell it because of the tower was immense, and it actually was a fairly large. It wasn't just the tower; it was these tunnels and the building. So they just blew the whole thing up, and man, what a shame. I wish that was still around today. So the next two, I really want to talk more about this wireless energy because there's a lot to this. It ties in with the whole him being obsessed with the pyramids, which he believed they were the same kind of thing, that they were built to send out wireless energy. So I'll just say the other two cool things on his list were an artificial tidal wave, which we now know that kind of exists. You know, they have like the wave makers, the electric powered supersonic airship. Now that's pretty cool. Like he had an idea. This guy had an imaginary mind. Like he probably could have built all of these things had he not given up his royalties from the AC motors that he designed.
A guy just flew around the world in the first solar-powered airplane. Did you hear about
really?
that? Yeah.
No, I didn't hear about that. That's really cool. I knew that they did a around the world with no pilot plane. Mm-hmm. This was a little while ago.
It was like 4 years ago. A guy got in this super lightweight. It had to be really lightweight. So he just him in a little cockpit with like some water. He just like kind of laid there, and I think he peed his pants every day. I don't know how he defecated.
He probably had a catheter or
something simple. And he made it.
Do you know how long it took him?
Oh no, but I'll look it up.
Man, that's really cool though.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's the future, man. I think we need to start changing how we power everything. And then the last one here, it says the death beam. You know what? I got to read what the death beam is because that's pretty cool. Tesla's creative mind continued to spark new visions even late into his life. On his 78th birthday, he told New York Times that he had come up with his most important invention, one that would cause armies of millions to drop dead in their tracks. Wow. The invention, a military weapon that would accelerate mercury particles at 48 times the speed of sound inside a vacuum chamber and shoot a high-velocity beam through the free air of such tremendous energy that it will bring down a fleet of 10,000 enemy airplanes at a distance of 250 miles. Wow, that's intense. Well, let me just read the rest. It says, although the press dubbed it as a death beam, Tesla believed it as a peace beam that would foil attacks by airplanes and invading armies and save lives by acting as an invisible Chinese wall, only 1,000,000 times more impenetrable. Tesla, see, Trump probably, no wonder Trump wanted the patents, you know, he keeps wanting to build a wall. I guess this is like the ultimate wall, right? That's what he probably heard him say and was like, yes, that's the wall we need. Obviously, Trump's uncle was saying it too, way back when. I'm just making a joke here. Tesla offered his particle beam weapon to numerous governments, including the United States, but the only country to show interest was the Soviet Union, which conducted a partial test in 1939. Oh, that's interesting. So the only people who wanted it were the Soviet Union.
Yeah, I mean, who like publicly wanted it.
Right. Okay, yeah, good.
The U.S.
good call.
actually raided his lab and took it.
So this here is a YouTube video I was watching, and it wonderfully shows a direct correlation between the Warden Cliff Tower and the pyramid. So you can't really see the bottom left corner, but what this is the pyramid and the Warden Cliff Tower laid over each other. Now, they had very big similarities with the underwater aquifer that was residing underneath them. Now, in Egypt, they're finding out that a lot of these underwater tunnels were man-made, but there is a natural aquifer that rests directly underneath the pyramids. And he built the Warden Cliff Tower directly over an aquifer in the exact same sense. And what this would do, this would capture the Telerik current in the ground and transfer it up to the top of the tower and shoot it out the top. And that's what they actually claim the pyramids are. I mean, we don't know for certain. This is not fact. We are in, new territory when it comes to this, because we lost all this information. Like, I remember being taught about the pyramids that they were tombs. Now, I no longer believe that they were tombs. And that, like, you can't convince me they were tombs. I believe they were some sort of energy device, some sort of, I don't know if it was a power, like, Tesla was sending out free energy, but nothing shows me tomb. Everything about Tesla was obsessed with the pyramids. He was trying to understand them in his younger years. And I think he clearly figured something out, because he built this tower. Like, look at this. This is a direct, overlaying them. And basically it shows he figured it out, built it, and was sending out free energy. This guy built, I don't know if you know, he put a bunch of light bulbs in a field and created like a wire around them, and was able to just light all the light bulbs up by running electricity through the wire. So he figured out how to send electricity in the air. And I think this it doesn't prove anything to me, but it really solidifies it in my head that Tesla figured it out. He figured out what the ancient Egyptians figured out. If it was the ancient Egyptians, I feel like we don't even really know what we talked about Atlantis yesterday.
Yeah.
Like that could have been the pinnacle of the earth at that time.
There's all these like stories about Zeus, these ancient histories and people that had like Zeus threw lightning bolts.
Yeah.
Okay, so he must have had electricity. And I think he got it from Atlantis. I think it's like holdover technology that these people, somehow, some people got out of there with some kind of information.
Yeah.
And like maybe he did have like Baghdad batteries. That's proved that these things, copper pots with vinegar, you have an iron rod and copper coil around it will produce an electrical charge. You have enough of them next to each other, you can create a pretty mad electrical current.
Have you ever heard of the Pyramid Code?
No.
So the Pyramid Code used to be on Netflix. Really interesting documentary. Basically, one of the episodes is really heavy into this kind of stuff, and it talks about how this scientist was with his guides, like Egyptian guides, and they brought him to the top of the pyramid. This is in 1920 or something, and the scientist understood electricity and got up there and felt the static in the air and was like, "Oh wow, this is really interesting. How the top of the pyramid is." It's crazy static, and he like quickly built. He took like a bottle, something, and he like touched it to somebody, and it shocked them so much they flew to the ground, and they all freaked out. All the guides were like, "Ah, like witch, whatever." But he understood what it was, so he had a general understanding about electricity. So he kind of knew when he felt it in the air. He's like, "Oh yeah, this is." So it's an understanding. So if you have someone like a Zeus back in the day who understood how to control electricity, I mean, I think whoever built the pyramids knew what they were doing. You know, they I don't know how far back it goes, but it feels like they knew that what to do. There's also this other theory that they were a water pump system and like an electrical charge dampener, basically, to help grow crops in Egypt. And I don't think that's true, but it's an interesting premise.
I heard a really
you heard
cool,
about this?
Briefly, but along those lines, I saw this Mayan physicist. It was right around 2012, talking about how they built these pyramids so that when the Earth's magnetic core, this core is electromagnetic, and it's negative because it's a bunch of iron and electrons and magma.
Okay.
And so it's drawing positive energy from the universe towards the Earth.
Yeah.
And so these protons are bombarding the Earth, going through the crust towards the core, and then once they get close enough to the core, the positive energy in the core repels them, and they go flying out of the Earth and through our bodies and cause all this free radical damage and probably other kind of damage to plants and things like that. So they would build these pyramids to focus these protons as they came out of the Earth up and out through the top of them. And this is from like an Incan, a Mayan physicist. I heard this data.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. This aquifer system, it's not only found under the pyramids in Egypt. It's found under some Mayan pyramids there, because there's old ancient buildings all over the world, and a bunch of them have this same aquifer system underneath them, and they have a charge in the air. So it's almost like the whole globe was linked into some sort of global electric thing.
You've heard of dowsing?
No, what's that?
Dowsing is like where someone will walk around with a stick and they
to
can
find
actually
water?
feel it underneath the ground.
It's
where
like
the
when
water,
they find water? Yeah, okay.
And this is like an ancient, well-documented...
You know, see, that makes sense now to me. You know, I never really thought about it because it's the electricity that the water's carrying. Ah, yeah, interesting. I have heard of that, but I never really thought about how it works.
I don't know. The wood maybe accelerate.
I thought it was two metal rods.
Maybe you can use metal
two metal
too.
rods?
Well, I've heard that sticks in the early days. Maybe now they use better materials that are more conductive.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It's man, this guy. Everything I read about Tesla just blows me away. I actually have an article I found. This kind of goes into what I was saying. The Great Pyramid of Giza was a giant power machine, and it kind of goes. There's a lot of random mumbo jumbo here, but here we go. It says, scientists have discovered that the granite stones that were used in the corridors of the pyramids are slightly radioactive, a feature that allows the stone to electrify the air. For some reason, the builders of the pyramid used dolomite, a material that has proven to be an excellent conductor of electricity, on the inner surface of the Great Pyramid. In addition, Tura limestone, which turns out to be an excellent electrical insulator, covers the outer parts of the pyramids. In addition to all of that, the Great Pyramid of Giza was not a random pleasure was not a random pleasure in a place where it is today. I'm not sure what that means, but I don't know. But I'll keep reading. The pyramid is in a powerful source of an underground energy, like many other ancient structures throughout the world. The geology present in the Giza Plateau naturally concentrates large amounts of electromagnetic forces on our planet. Below the surface, the natural electrical forces that travel are known as the Telerik Currents, or Earth current. Telerik currents are an electrical current that moves underground and through the sea. Telerik currents are the result of natural causes and human activity, and discrete currents interact with a complex pattern. Well, what I understood what the Telerik current was when the sun is traveling around, it kind of pushed, like, you can imagine where the line of where the light is finally hitting and creating light instead of dark, and there's like it moves around the planet. I thought that's I guess it's I didn't know it could be man-made or a human activity. That's interesting, but even still, it's like ancient Egyptians understood this and used it. And it's really interesting.
You know, the inside of the pyramids have no marks of fire. There's no torch.
Right.
Because theoretically they use battery power. And I mean, there's hieroglyphs of, like you were saying yesterday.
Well, there's actually hieroglyphs of them holding a light bulb, like a straight up light bulb. It looks exactly like, you know, just a bulb with a little wire on the inside. Like, what is that? So how do they know what that is?
If they're lining
what is going on?
Dolomite, and they're using the inside of the pyramids as just giant electrical conductors, that's incredible.
Right, and it basically, and we know that a lot of the pyramids have been taken away. So like the outer casing is pretty much gone, and I haven't been in front of these pyramids, but I really want to go stand in front of them and just feel their presence. You know, I don't know if we can even try. I mean, of course, coronavirus can't go anywhere right now, but eventually I want to travel there and just feel their energy. There's got to be something that we have yet to discover. I guess there's 2 chambers that we know about that we haven't been into yet because there's no actual way to get to them. Some people are like, "Oh, well, that's where the tomb is." And it's like,
I think they were filled with water, from what I've learned, is that there's all these weird little tiny diagonal pathways that go up. It sounds like they're water passageways that go to other chambers that would fill up with water.
That makes sense.
And then I know that, from what I've learned about how they built the pyramids, is that they would build it with water. They would float the blocks. They built these moats around, and then that would go up diagonally with like stop gaps where they would, and so they'd get these giant things. The workers would get in the water with the giant blocks and they'd chisel away at it.
Interesting.
And stay cool in the water. And then the rocks would float because it was in the water, and then they'd float them down the channel and up these diagonal channels. And then once they would get to a certain height up, they would close it off with wood, and then it would float up some more, and they'd be pouring water down from the top. So they'd carry buckets up to the top of the pyramid and keep
Very cool. Where'd you get this from?
Ooh, I'll look this up.
I like that, though.
This.
That's a new kind of a thing I didn't even think about, that they built it with water. Makes sense. It's lighter in the water.
Yeah.
Man, that's cool. So, yeah, I love this kind of stuff. You know, there's in the Pyramid Code, there's this, I don't know, it's like he's an Egyptian guy that's all sorts of, knows all the history, and he's talking about, there's all sorts of pyramids. It's not just the pyramids of Giza that are really cool. There's other pyramids that are further south that I guess that's where they would go heal themselves. You know, there's different, they would vibrate at different frequencies. And the doctors, I say doctors loosely because they were the sound therapist guys basically, and they would say, "Oh, what is your illness? Oh, you've got something wrong with your throat. Okay, go lay in that pyramid and just let it resonate through your body, and that'll heal you." And like, "Oh, your bones are aching. Go lay down in that pyramid and let that pyramid like frequency run through your body."
So your bones are made of hydroxyapatite, which is a type of crystal, and
Cool.
they vibrate. I actually got this crystal healing. I think I might have mentioned this to you before, but this friend of mine does this crystal healing where she has all these crystalline bowls, and then she takes them and takes this stone and rings them, makes them vibrate.
Oh, yeah.
And then sets them on like your forehead or on your, you know, your base chakra, your root chakra, and all these different chakras on your body.
Okay.
And man, your body starts to vibrate.
Cool.
I've
done some like sound therapy. You know, you go to like a yoga studio and everyone's like laying around and you got the bowls. It's always relaxing. I always finish up and I'm like, I feel better now.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't had anything placed on my forehead, but
it was cool.
I can imagine it being really cool. Aren't we all frequency? Isn't that what string theory is?
Oh yeah, have you heard this electric universe theory?
Mm-mm.
I mean, it's this grand.
Well, it kind of runs in the same line, right? A string theory.
As the gravity is just another type of electromagnet. Like all of the forces, there's 4 forces in nature: gravity, electromagnetism, the weak nuclear force, and the strong force. But really, it's all one force, and that's electromagnetism.
Cool.
And different, you know, valences or ways of looking at magnetism. Like gravity could be a resonating frequency of magnetism. How you know when 2 magnets get close together, they pull and they pull and they pull, and then once they get close, they pull so hard together. And this force, I don't know, it's called the Casimir force or something, but that's kind of what gravity is. The closer you get to Earth, all of a sudden you get snagged to it.
That's interesting, yeah. And you can hover in orbit, but then as soon as you get too close, boom, you land.
Just like a magnet.
Yeah, we're all positive and Earth. No, well, we're negative and Earth's positive.
I think
Which would it be?
We got combos of both. We're all like a nice medley of neutral.
There was this thing that I found out about. earthing or grounding. That's what it is, grounding. Where I used to live in New York City, and every time I left New York, every time I would go to like the woods or, back home to Arizona or wherever, or, well, that's where my mom lives now. So I say back home, but, I would go and I'd walk barefoot outside on like the dirt. And something about that made me feel so much better. I'd go back to New York and be like relieved, like, wow, I feel a new sense that I didn't feel before. And I lived in New York for 16 years, maybe, long time. Most of my adult life, actually. And yeah, I could definitely feel it. Every time I would go out, I would feel like I felt different. And I looked into it, and you're grounding yourself. There's people that actually go get naked, lay down, and cover themselves in dirt to like fully ground themselves and like release the pent up electrical forces that are in your body, basically. And I mean, there's like bed sheets you can get that plug into the ground of outlets. There's all sorts of like random things. I don't know if they work. I've never gotten them myself because I just go walk in the woods and I feel great, walk out in some grass barefoot and it always feels good. But it's interesting because New York's a concrete jungle, and I definitely feel like there's people that are really pent up in New York. And all I want to say to them is just go walk in the woods for a little bit, please.
Yeah. What is this? Sun gazing. Have you heard of this?
Yeah.
Where you gaze, you don't stare at the sun, but there's people that, in fact, research it if you're really interested in it. But people will look towards the sun and allow the sunlight into their eyes. But the real benefits you get from it is when you stand barefoot in the dirt, because apparently that's when you can discharge a lot of.
Interesting.
I thought it was just
like a combo of the both.
Yeah.
Like letting this like sunbathing while standing barefoot.
Yeah.
That sounds wonderful right now.
I know.
It's been so long. It's been rainy here too.
Yeah,
I haven't been able to skate all week because it's been rainy. I'm kind of like,
I want to light a fire.
I'm itching to get out there. Yeah, it's been wet.
Breathe
Sucks.
some air.
Have you heard of people sunbathing their bungholes?
Not yet. But keep going.
I guess this is like a new thing where people will go out and like sunbathe their buttholes.
Well, what's it like?
I don't know. I haven't tried it yet.
Oh, jeez. You're turning me on.
I don't know.
Not like that.
I don't know if anyone would be interested, but it is kind of funny because I guess if you want to get really drunk really fast, you just boof it up your up the behind,
charge.
And if you're gonna get charged by the sun,
makes a lot of sense in the darkest spot.
Have everybody actually done that? Have everyone done this? Man, this is
I bet it has immense healing properties.
It's so funny to think about, though. Just the thought of like walking into a room where someone's like sunbathing
in the middle.
Like,
Pardon
excuse me.
Yeah. Was it my?
Do you want to finish?
Should I stay or should I? Should I go?
So you know what? So the bottom line is we owe so much to Tesla. I know it's not really a good segment or segue from what we were just talking about. But man, Tesla, what an amazing man. He really did come up with so much stuff. He had over 200 patents. It's really cool. He's a really good, really amazing man.
I like the pigeons. So pigeons.
Oh, we didn't really talk about that much.
Homing pigeons. They used pigeons to send messages to and from people. So pigeons.
Don't they still do that?
I think they do.
I've seen John Wick. They still do it.
Yeah, definitely. If it was in John Wick,
yeah, right.
Then it's real. But so maybe they're tuned into the electromagnetic currency more.
Send a raven.
Like birds are totally tuned in the way they fly around. Have you seen that? What's it called? Not mimetic, but when the birds all fly in like a big
massive cloud.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's called, but it's really cool.
It starts with an M. And
you think they're all electrically charged together?
Possibly. I know we are. Like our hearts are like this electric current charging through our brains, or these electron neural. So they may be, because they're much lighter and their bones are hollow, they may be more sensitive to it. And they're like wolves. Like some wolves they align themselves with magnetic north when they hunt, and then they can it's not even that they look at their prey, they just sense it.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's
cool.
There's videos of
wolves
them.
are cool.
I know.
I like wolves.
So
I like all animals. Animals are cool.
I wonder if pigeons are more tuned in than other birds.
Well, Tesla fell in love with a pigeon.
Tell me about that.
Did you hear about that?
Yeah, a little bit.
So towards the end of Tesla's life, this guy, I mean, he basically, people were taking credit for his stuff. They weren't giving him his due. He was out of money. He would move from hotel to hotel, leaving debt behind, owing the hotel. And what gave him solace was the pigeons in New York. He would go to Bryant Park and he would just feed the pigeons. And one pigeon in particular, he was talking, he loved this pigeon. He said, he quote says, "I love this pigeon like a man loves a woman," end quote. That's an actual quote from Tesla. He said that. And the day the pigeon died was like right near the end of his life. He like talked about it. It was like there was a light in the pigeon's eye, and it went and died and never came back. And it was like, he was like, it was one of the saddest days of my life. And that's like, man, that's really sad. It's like an old Tesla just bummed that everyone's taking his ideas, he's not getting credit. Everyone's sweeping his stuff under the rug. Like, I hope one day Tesla knew, like, I mean, he saw into the future. Dude was a visionary.
Yeah, and we may really be all connected via a magnetic cloud, like we probably are on some level. So maybe we can reconstruct him and let him know that we believe in him.
Interesting, reconstructing him, huh? Yeah. I think he knows. I think he's up there going, I say up there, I mean like in the universe. He's probably going, told you so. Yeah. You guys, he had this vision in 1902 saying one day we could send pictures and videos of each other to each other. We'll be able to do that. And everyone told him he was crazy. That came true. I have that ability. I can take a video of myself. I'm actually making a video of myself going into your computers right now. Tesla envisioned this, and here we are. It
really tricks me out that they suppressed his name. Like, I didn't learn about him in high school.
Yeah, what is with that?
What? That is so Rockefeller, I think, formed this current education system as we know it to kind of turn people into corporate drones. Like, you have to raise your hand to be called on. You wait. You can't get out of your seat unless
I pledge allegiance to the flag.
Yeah, I must follow, obey. I will await orders. And they don't teach you like how to run a business. I wasn't in public school. Yeah, how to write a check, how to be a monetary.
What real life is about.
Or Tesla. They didn't even tell me like, oh yeah, free energy can be possible. Like, it was so weird how.
That's what blows me away. Over 100 years ago, we figured out free energy exists. Hello, why are we not digging into that more? We're trying to go to the moon. We're trying to go. We're like, we have all these grandiose plans, and it's like, why are we still digging up fossil fuels to fuel everything when we can do it with the natural electricity that happens all the time?
I think what worries me, and maybe this is propaganda, is that if there's a huge current powering New York City, that it would be messing up my DNA because it's flowing through me.
The Telerik current passes around all the time. You're experiencing it right now. And, like you said, like stuff's coming from space, going through our bodies. I was at the, what is that observatory in LA? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, up on the mountain.
Yeah, up on the mountain. Man, I can't believe I'm blanking on the name of it. But no, I was in it. It's basically a little mini museum. It's really cool. And there was this gas box, and all these things were hitting it, and it was so cool. I was mesmerized by it, and what it was showing was sun rays. I mean, this was in the basement, and it was saying this is sun rays going through the concrete that you got like X amount of concrete above us, all the different rooms, and it's going right through all the clouds, through our atmosphere, through you, and this gas is a visual representation, and this gas was moving, man. It was like things were hitting it. So it was showing the cosmic rays that we get hit by all day long. No matter where you are, you're getting hit by this stuff. And it was just like, whoa, this is amazing. And just as that revelation hit me, there was a guide that came by and was like talking to a group, and they started talking about it. And I was just like, yes, this is great. I'm getting all the deep info.
It's the Griffith
Observatory. Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Definitely go there if you're in LA. That place is awesome.
Really cool. If you haven't been there, check it out. It's a really beautiful view. It's cool.
This guy Nassim Haramein, I don't know enough about his Schwarzschild proton. There's this physicist Nassim Haramein who basically was shunted by the popular scientific community for looking to solve Einstein's field equation, but he's going way outside the box. His calculations led him to believe that there was no strong nuclear force. And he wrote this paper called the Schwarzschild proton, invigorating that every proton we see in the universe is actually two protons revolving around each other at the speed of light. And that there's this vibrative field that we're all in. Whether or not that's a Higgs field, I don't know, but that the protons are feeding information into the vacuum. He calls it the vacuum. And then at the speed of light, returning information to you. So your local behavior is feeding information into the grand, superstructural vacuum of the universe. And then the entire universe is calculating all of the local information and then messing it all around and giving you back a local response. So your behavior is, according to Nassim Haramein, affecting the entire universe. But you're only getting a tiny alteration of a localization change.
Wow.
And he's saying that you can get energy directly out of the vacuum with these calculations.
So that would take free energy to a whole nother level then.
Right, because you wouldn't have to send it through.
Pluck it out of thin air, essentially.
I think so, yeah.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, I'd like to go deeper on that. It's a really complex paper.
Yeah, I was reading about some quantum theories, and there's some serious stuff that I don't even know if I wrap my head around. I was trying to explain it a little bit earlier.
Yeah,
well, string theory is a little more, it's almost easier to understand than some of the stuff that some people were tweeting at me, some really interesting quantum stuff. It's just like, it goes down the rabbit hole. Have you ever seen What the Bleep Do We Know?
I have, yeah.
So it's really interesting. That explains string theory a little better.
Yeah, I've heard that it was great. I thought when I saw it, I was like, whoa, blew my mind. But then I heard it was like, it was created by like this woman who channels a character and like takes all this money from these people so that.
I know.
And some of the scientists involved, I think Brian Greene was like, oh, I wish I hadn't done it.
It's like, no.
But they did mention some great experiments, like the double slit experiment.
Yeah, where you observe and it changes.
Right. Just the weight of observation can alter the vibration of the electrons at a subatomic level. The fermions, which you know so little about.
Right. So what I remember of this experiment that we're talking about is basically they would send electrons through this little slit of two papers. Basically, they'd have a slit, and it would create. And when they had the cameras on, it would create a certain image, like the electrons would pass through and hit the wall in a certain formation. And when they turned the cameras off, it changed. There was a difference, right? Or maybe it
became like a wide spallation of
it was much different than when they turned. I don't know how they actually recorded that part though. If the cameras were off,
I think they would record,
really
they would go and look at the paper afterwards and see what happened.
Maybe that's what happened. Yeah. So the mere fact that they were observing it changed what was happening.
And just now when you were talking about that, I was listening to you and looking down, and as soon as I looked up at you, the conversation changed.
Interesting.
It's like that with interaction.
It makes me think of this this experiment I think some Japanese scientists did, and it was when I don't know if this is a hoax. This actually might be wrong, but it was really cool, and I would love for it to be true, but I don't know. It's where he took water from all the same source. And there was the control where he didn't do anything. And then he wrote words like love, hate, peace. He wrote like a few different things. And it supposedly changed the molecular structure of the water. Mm-hmm. And because of what the words meant, we're the ones who kind of place it. It made me feel like the same kind of experiment because we're the ones who create what does love mean? You could say love, but like if you don't speak English, what is love? You don't know. Like, what does that mean? What does war mean if you don't know what war means? But if you know what war means and you put it on that water and it changes it. Does anybody know what this experiment is? I don't know what it is, but it was really cool.
Yeah, I know the experiment you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about?
They've done it with rice, too.
Yeah, interesting. Right.
The thing is, they've had a hard time doing double-blind studies, like reproducing the study.
Yeah.
It's interesting, too, because like the way you feel is difficult to reproduce.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So science, like modern science with like, if you can't reproduce it, it isn't real, is almost silly to say that it's wrong if you can't,
right.
Just because you can't reproduce it doesn't. So to say it isn't real because you can't prove it doesn't make sense. You should have a more open mind. Just because it can't be proven doesn't mean it's not real. You just haven't proven it. But that's just the way science has been built. And it works for a lot of like rudimentary tasks,
Yeah.
The first law, or I think maybe it's the second law of thermodynamics is about, it's like pressure equals, I think it's the second law of thermodynamics. Pressure is equal to the volume multiplied by the temperature. And it's like an inverse ratio of basically, or the volume is equal to the pressure multiplied by the temperature. Sorry,
math.
But please put this in PV, R, NRT. It's one of these equations. But it shows that like the temperature of a system and the pressure of a system are related. So if you have like a tube and you increase the temperature of the tube, the volume is going to increase, or the pressure is going to increase. It's going to be one of the two, but it can't be both or something like that. But it works for like getting water out of wells, which is when they wrote this for, but it doesn't work for fusion.
Yeah.
So they say you can't get more out of the system than you put into it. It's a sealed system, but one, it doesn't account for a system that inflates, and it also assumes that systems are closed or isolated, which there's no such thing in reality as an isolated system. So a lot of science works for menial tasks of the day that they're written for, but not necessarily should shut off possibility for future equations and things that can disprove it. You know, science is meant to be disproven. That's part of why.
Oh, science. Science is great.
That was a pretty hot explanation.
Yeah. You kind of lost me a little bit.
I should do a story on this because I want to.
Yeah, you should.
I want to advance the law of thermodynamics to show that you can get more energy out of a system than you put into it, because there's no such thing as an isolated system.
Yeah, you should.
Energy comes from within. I think it's the friction of the expansion that causes more heat, which causes it to expand faster, which causes more friction that causes more heat, causes it to expand faster. So that's why you have inflative systems like the sun, or why fusion can be possible. And once we can mathematically prove that, then people will be like, oh, no, I don't have to say, can't get more energy out of a system than you put into it, man.
Yeah. Well, the sun proves that fusion, it can happen, because it's literally fusing nonstop. That's what.
And I think it's getting energy from other stars.
Really?
I think so. I think that's how it's continuing to go.
Interesting.
Never
heard
that
before.
There's just an ever-expansive system. There are no walls.
Right. Wow. Well, I mean, I feel like that's a whole nother rabbit hole we can dive into.
Yeah.
Quantum stuff, quantum theories, lots of fun. I'm gonna jump back over to super chats, and you know what? I'm just gonna take this time. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. I know this is not the show that you're used to. Normally, Tim sits here and he runs the boat. He has a certain way of doing things, and this is definitely not the normal TimcastIRL show. This is the AtomcastIRL show with Ian Crossland. And, I mean, we're just having a good time. Tim kind of just sprung it on me on Monday, like basically an hour before the show, which is normally when I would sit down and Lydia would be like, these are the stories we're going to do. You know, let's get into it and talk about it and prepare for the show. But they were like, I was like, all right, guys, what are we doing? He's like, I'm driving to California. Bye. And I was like, what about our show? And he's like, well, I guess we're just going to take a 2-week break. And I was like, a 2-week break? What am I going to do? I'm going to just play video games all week? I can't just do that. So here I am making a good time with all of you guys. So thank you again for being here with me, and Ian, of course. So I'm gonna read some of these here super chats. Let me just find out where we are. All right. Oh, Marak, what's up again, buddy? Marak's actually a actual friend of mine. I have an open source project with 22,000 GitHub stars, faker, millions of downloads, no money. Yeah, actually, I remember you telling me about this, and that's really awesome. You're a pioneer. Mark G says, everyone praises and raves over Tesla. Oh, I guess I already read this one about the Joseph Gaetti. I don't know how I missed that Marak one. I'm glad I found it. I must have gone back just for that. Let's see. Sorry, I just got to find out where we are. Ancient history is proving every day that our inventions are just reinventions. Yeah, I read that too. Sorry, I'm not as good as Tim as finding out where we were. Here we go. There we go. Jay Chicago says, Adam could host the weekend show while Tim chills. Love the convos, by the way. Q could point you to an even better Adam's Deep Dives. Just saying, I've learned a lot, and it's all open source. That is actually kind of fun. Maybe you and I could do like a weekend thing.
Totally down.
You know, do the AtomcastIRL on the weekend shows. Or we can, we were actually talking about this last night after the show. We could probably just do our own YouTube channel. You know, we have this space. There is a big window every day that him and I could just, you know, shoot the breeze down here and have a good time. Ryan Jones says, do we know if his tech has anything to do with HAARP, which is HAARP? That's when we were trying to change the weather patterns, I believe, right? And actually, that Russian Tesla tower that you showed, people believed for a long time that was part of the HAARP project.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was. I think they disproved it. I think I read that in that article. But yeah, I don't know if any of Tesla's tech had to do with HAARP. I'm sure some of it led to people using it because his patents are in everyday. We use them all the time. So much of his stuff. I mean, we still run on AC power. All these lights, all this electrical stuff runs on his inventions. So it's really cool. Angry A says, fact, Puerto Rico was on the moon first. Cool, I didn't know that. Thanks for filling me in. Vashed 1985 says, Tesla also invented a machine that found the resonant frequency known as the brown note and used it to play a practical joke on Mark Twain.
That's
true. Interesting.
I read that earthquake generator caused the brown activity in a lot of their participants. That they'd have to run to the bathroom. The brown note is make you got to go poo.
Oh,
and so
that's
people
hilarious.
would run out and go to the bathroom.
So what? He did that to Mark Twain?
I hadn't heard that yet.
That's pretty funny. Little known fact: Mark Twain and him were actually good friends, and Tesla would host a lot of like the famous who's who of the time at his. This is kind of in his heyday before it all went downhill, and it actually went downhill so badly that Mark Twain actually had passed, and he kept sending Mark Twain letters and packages to his friend. It's kind of sad, but Justin O'Toole says, have you heard of the series Fringe? It featured a device that would vibrate walls so you can pass through them, though not good if it stopped working while you were doing so. I've seen Fringe, and honestly, I'm really bummed that it ended. I was really into it. It was such a cool. It was ahead of its time. I feel like if they did Fringe nowadays, it would be really awesome. I love that show. It was a great show. Lars Drunes, thanks for the super chat. Appreciate that. Stonebleed says, have you ever heard of the Vrillon incident? Seems kind of related to aliens and nukes. No, I haven't. Vrillon. Have you heard of that? Can you type this up?
Yeah.
Vrillon. Yeah, we'll check it out. I don't know anything about it. Clorox bleach, my life for I don't know what that is, but okay. And on that note, don't drink Clorox bleach. This whole silly thing with everyone's tossing around who said what when the he said, she said. It's so silly. Judas Romo says, don't believe in government and big corporates. Yeah, you never know what to believe from them. BBTD LTD says, where are the ancient Egyptian light bulbs and other power tools then? Surely there would be some remains. I agree, there should be. And what really doesn't make sense is Egypt actually cut off the world from digging in certain sites, and actually almost all their sites. And I have a feeling they know something we don't, and they don't want the world to know, because they've been telling. I mean, I was brought up knowing that it was the tomb. You know, they were all tombs, and that's all it was, just tombs. And it feels like they gotta know something that they're not telling us.
Yeah, if you want to see like the Baghdad, like an actual Baghdad battery, go on YouTube and search in for Baghdad battery.
Yeah, they were like pots, right?
Yeah, there's a video of a guy making like 30 of them and then lighting light bulbs with them.
Yeah,
and that's technically one of the ways that they generated electricity.
Yeah, they had there is documents of that kind of stuff, but the light bulbs themselves, which is what they're asking about, are nowhere to be seen.
That would be cool.
I mean, if you think about what a light bulb is, it's really thin glass. I mean, I don't know if they have the technology to make really like pristine thin glass light bulbs, but I mean, if it breaks, it's not going to last. You're not going to be able to see what, oh, that was a light bulb in a million pieces of glass over time. Probably just looks like sand, and it's in the middle of a desert.
Yeah, glass is sand.
Yeah, right. Melted in.
Super compressed. Yeah,
right, exactly.
Sand.
So it probably just disappeared, blew away in the sand. Clorox bleach again says, gonna tell my grandkids Adam was Joe Rogan. Well, I am certainly not Joe Rogan. But that, okay, tell your kids. Sure, why not? Change the past. Bobcat says dowsing dowsing with the sticks searching for water is a scam. Just like that company that got a bunch of soldiers killed selling dowsing rods to the DOD during Iraq as bomb detectors. I didn't know anything about that. But that's a shame to hear about that. J. Many Owl became a member. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Stephen Lewis says, moving water creates a magnetic field. Hi from Australia. Oh, well, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you. And that's probably why they were moving water through the pyramids. If they actually had water tunnels, you know, that's actually part of the whole thing with the aquifers under the Wardcliffe Tower and the pyramids. When the water would come in, it would electrically charged the atmosphere in that area, and because the water carried that electricity. So when it would come into the aquifers and fill up during like the high tides or whatever, that's the power was at its peak. And that makes sense. Let's see. Rabid Kitten says, wasn't the top of the pyramids gold, a conductor? That's actually what they say. That the top peak was gold. And you can imagine after the batteries turned off, as it were, because it needed water. And over time, I mean, the Nile River used to be right on the pyramids, and now it's like 50 miles away. It's not anywhere close because over time, the river just slowly moved away. So there isn't any water. So once the batteries turned off, I mean, if they were batteries, the gold probably looked pretty tasty for the rulers at the time, because they spun into this, I want to have the power, no longer caring about balance, just wanting to control. So that gold just looked like power to them. Like, let's just take it and use it to fund our own agendas. Nick Naylor says, question, so by grounding all our electricity, are we not massively adding to the underground currents? I didn't even realize, but the Telerik current, a lot of it has to do with human activity. So we probably are adding to the natural electrical currents that pass through the ground every day, the Telerik currents. We got to figure out how to use it. Chris White says, nebulizing hydrogen peroxide for a laugh about President Trump's statements that he said was a joke. Yeah, this whole thing about hydrogen peroxide and using UV, it's like, it wasn't that far-fetched. He wasn't, I went and listened to it. Man, the media twists everything he says. It's crazy. Like, he was talking to a doctor, asking a doctor about something that isn't even that far-fetched. Like, chemotherapy is injecting, like, stuff that kills things in your body, and that's essentially what he was saying. I'm not that into politics. I know a lot of people here are into politics. They came here from Tim, so I don't know. I don't know much about it, so I'm not really going to speak on it. Chuck Morris says, I've been to Giza a few times. The pyramids are cool, but the Sphinx is very small. It's a little underwhelming, but do it. I absolutely will. And I even the Sphinx being small is cool because I believe it was there before the pyramids. Like the whole water running. You know about this, right? How the platform, it proves that water used to run that way, but now it can't because of the way that it's been built over. I don't know, man.
No, that I didn't know about.
Yeah, there's some scientists that say the Sphinx are older than the pyramids.
That I know.
Yeah. So
there's water erosion.
But the reason why is because of that water erosion, and that proves it. Because after the pyramids were built, there's you can see that water wouldn't run the way it did anymore, and it runs a different direction now. But there's so much time. Well, the amount of erosion that is there proves that it was there for at least a set amount of time, and it doesn't fit the timelines that we've been taught.
Mm-hmm. Someone said that the constellation Leo rises behind it too, or the sun rises. Yeah. Something about the constellation Leo being involved.
I mean, that's a whole nother thing too.
Yeah.
The whole pyramids being, perfectly aligned with different constellations and following the sacred geometry. It's really cool and really in depth. You can really, we can do a whole new thing on the pyramids.
Amen.
Yeah, I really love them, and it is really interesting that they follow sacred geometry 369. And actually, Tesla was obsessed with this, the sacred geometry. He wouldn't stay in a hotel room unless it was divided by 3, like 303, 20 something, whatever it was. Like, he always stayed. He had to go around the block 3 times before he entered a building. He was a little OCD, but because he was obsessed with the sacred numbers. Really interesting. I got to do some research more about that kind of stuff, but really interesting stuff. BBTD says again, long hair does this to people. I guess.
Have you heard the Native American theory that your hair is an extension of your nervous system? You have nerve endings in your hair follicles.
I remember you telling me this.
And that the people with the longer hair would be more in tune with, with the spirits.
Yeah, that's right. We're so in tune over here with the spirits.
Spiritual. And they call alcohol spirits.
Right, and we must be in tune with the alcohol.
That's probably what
you heard it
means,
here,
dude. Yeah.
Daniel Smith says, "Please don't stare into the sun."
You don't stare into the sun. You
please don't stare into the sun.
do your research. If you're really into sun
I
gazing,
agree
which
with you, Daniel.
it helps because it melts away that floaty stuff that can goop up your eyes and probably is some of the stuff that causes.
What is that? Wait, what did you just say?
You know the
floaties.
You know
sure,
those
we all know what
floaties?
the floaties are.
It melts them away.
What?
It's awesome.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
They do?
yeah.
I've never heard. What are the floaties?
I
What are
think
they?
it's what
Just like
causes
bacteria?
Yeah, like cellulose or
Interesting.
What do they call it? Lymph, maybe.
Huh.
That causes glaucoma. It's like early glaucomal.
Ah,
But it melts.
that's cool. All right,
It's
interesting.
nice.
DC Pagan says literally 1 hour of soyception without Tim Pool. It's true. We just kind of went deep in there. We were really into it there.
Yeah, I want to make.
That was fun.
something out
I'm
of
having
soy.
I'm having a good time with it. You know what? It's a different show. What we're doing here. This is truly not Timcast IRL. This is me and Ian doing our own thing and having a blast. And I'm really grateful for you guys showing up and hanging out. Anyway, it's great. Mr. Paul R says birds flying together is murmuration.
Yeah, murmuration.
Murmuration. Well, there's no R until the middle, so it's murmuration.
It's amazing.
That's interesting. Yeah, I got to find out more
There's
about that.
videos of that
birds,
on YouTube
birds are
too.
cool.
Type that word in and look for those.
They're cool.
So cool.
Yeah, birds are awesome. Well, animals. We're animals. Everything is cool. BBTD again says pigeons have 2 bony ridges around their eyes that let them triangulate their location accurately, not magnets. Sorry. Interesting. That's really cool.
But it could be both.
I
right?
mean, don't you? I thought it had something to do with the electromagnetic forces on the planet that they can triangulate where they are. To use that word, it's great. But I don't know. I guess
I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't know.
If it's
I'm not
both.
I'm not a scientist. In fact, I'll take this time to say, like, everything we talk about, I'm not a master
I'm
on.
not a scientist.
I'm not. I don't know what I'm talking
This is
about.
Not.
I am just shooting the breeze.
For sure,
my
yeah.
buddy Ian over here.
Hey guys.
Nice day, isn't it? Says you're really coming into your own, Adam. I hope Cosmic Garth is a regular on the show from now on. Yeah, I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. I'm having a good time. It's different. I'm not used to being in the hot seat. Normally Tim's a strong character. He does the show his way. He's got a really strong way about doing things, and it's different. When I'm sitting over there, you really kind of. I kind of, Tim does his thing and I just go with the flow. And now I have, being in him, I'm almost channeling my inner Tim.
It's great.
But yeah.
This seat's easy. Because
Yeah.
he just tells me stuff.
That's
and
the
I just
easy
be like,
seat.
Whoa.
Yeah. That's what I'm used to doing.
Yeah.
But it's okay. I'm having a good time. But I appreciate you. Thank you. Rowan O'Neill says free energy would blow all circuits. All right. I guess it would. If, there obviously, we'd have to actually, invent technology that could handle the taking the energy in and converting it into, being able to power our devices. It wouldn't just, we wouldn't use it on the current systems. Deprived Dolphin says a lot of ancient societies had an obsession with the paranormal. Electromagnetism is linked to the afterlife. Pyramids were made for paranormal. I did read about this, actually. There's another theory that says that pyramids were built to give, I forget the name of, I think it was maybe Horus, give him his body back and bring him back to life. I don't know if this is true. They're all theories. Everything that we're talking about, the ancient pyramids, we don't know for certain because we weren't alive back then. And it's like this game of telephone we've played with ourselves for a millennia, we don't know. And it keeps changing. But yeah, it's a really interesting electromagnetism. Oh, let's see, we just got to jump. Thanks everybody. Matthew Hunter says, enjoying the topics, especially the electric universe shout out. Keep it up. Word.
Yeah.
Thank you. Control-Alt-Delete says Tesla got his ideas from dreams and was into numerology. Merlin's scrying mirrors represent today's cell phones. Interdimensional beings trade technology for misery through DMT with adrenochrome. Whoa, that's
all of them.
That's interesting.
All of the words.
Yeah. Wow, but that's a lot. There's a lot to unpack there. Very cool. Dean Badger says Tesla had free energy figured out, but I believe Westinghouse pulled his funding because you couldn't meter it to charge people and make money on it. I absolutely agree. There's all these stories about how Westinghouse was like, well, how do I? Well, actually, it wasn't Westinghouse. This is after. It wasn't Westinghouse. It was J.P. Morgan that he was working with at this point. J.P. Morgan gave him $150,000 to try to do this energy system. and it was Morgan who pulled the plug.
Yeah, Morgan owned or had stock in a copper mine, and they used the copper to make the wiring.
Yep.
And knew that would
So
upend that industry, and still today probably would.
Yeah. So I mean, I thought it was Edison originally in the same sense here that you're saying is Westinghouse. So it was actually J.P. Morgan, the original J.P. Morgan. Wing Lung, thank you for becoming a member. Appreciate it. BlackRock Beacon says quantum theory is a dead end for fundamental theory and string theory is bunk. Check out Eric Weinstein for an actual explanation.
Have you heard Weinstein?
No.
It is.
You know about
Weinstein?
this?
Yeah, Weinstein. He just released he's been working on a theory for like 40 years.
Yeah.
And he goes deep into spinors, which are like the subatomic particles. And what's Eric talking about? I gotta get him in here.
Let's we'll talk about it. Yeah. Chat about it. Cool. Thank you. Tommy Bengachuchi. Sorry, I can't say your last name, but thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate you. Control-Alt-Delete. Emotion is the fifth dimension, and the way to measure it in this dimension is to compare one consciousness feelings towards a subject with another. Very cool. That's interesting. Emotion is the fifth dimension. Yeah, because that's really cool. I'd love just think about that for a little bit. Like I could say a lot, but it's cool. Ex Goyim says the Bible mentions the word dragon in place of dinosaurs. The King James version. Dinosaur was a name created in the 1800s. Imagine the most advanced civilization taken out by a flood that lasted for 40 days. I can imagine it.
I heard they also called them leviathans and behemoths. The sea would be the leviathan, and of the land were the behemoths.
Okay, that makes sense. Rocky Desert Flower says, "Can you two make a podcast? I'd listen almost daily." Yeah, I think we really should. I think we're onto something here. We kind of we have very similar stuff we like to jazz out about. You're a little deeper into the science part of it, which is cool.
Man.
But you love it, don't you?
I love magnetism.
Yeah.
Energy, dude.
I know. There's a secret to those pyramids, man.
Dude,
free energy. It's gonna come around one day. It's like the people who make money off oil. They're like waiting until there's no more oil. And they're like, well, now that there's no more oil.
Maybe they're adapting now that no one's buying oil for
Good
Corona.
point. Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Get ready. The oil is so cheap. Vention MG Tao, thanks for the super chat. Even though the message was retracted, that's okay. Ted Skavernek, sorry if I said that wrong. Here's to Soy Jesus and Galactic Garth Hours. Thank you. Appreciate that. Zencat says, I'm loving the Tesla and science talk. Oh, well, we're going to get more into science because that's what we really enjoy. I'm all into science and space, and we actually are going to talk about the Artemis Project in a little bit and some other stuff that is going to come of that. It's pretty cool. But thank you. Jay Many says, I found a video of Tim skateboarding with longish hair. Where are your skate videos? Oh, you can actually, you can just YouTube my name, Adam Krigler, skating. Or Adam Krigler Arbor skateboards. I used to ride on the Arbor team in California, although I was the New York skater. And you can find my videos. Adam Krigler hits New York. There's a couple of me skating in California. But yeah, you just YouTube my name and you can find it. Thanks for your interest. Appreciate that. Frog Booger says, Adam and Ian, you guys are doing great. I wonder if the Stark arc reactor is envisioned from Tesla's ideas. Now, a real-life one would be cool. Thank you, first off. That's very nice of you. I appreciate that. And totally. Why wouldn't it be, right?
What is this? The
arc reactor?
What is it?
What? You don't know?
No.
Enlighten me. Wait, you haven't seen Iron Man?
No. I think I saw the first one.
Okay, wow. Can we get an F in chat for Ian never seeing Iron Man?
I'm not big into these Marvel. I
don't you love the Avengers?
Yeah, man. I used to read a lot of X-Men. In the 90s, I was a huge comic man.
What?
Boy. And so I don't want them to get ruined by poor cinema.
They're so good.
Really?
Iron Man especially.
The first one
Robert Downey
awesome.
Jr. is Tony Stark. He's so legit. Good. My goodness, yeah. I'm in shock. I'm going to force you to watch this movie.
Is it the arc reactor in his chest?
Okay, yes, right. So what the arc reactor is essentially a perpetual energy machine that he creates. And in his factory or whatever, his weapon shop, he's got a huge prototype version, and he creates a tiny version essentially to protect his heart from shrapnel. I'm not ruining any of this right in the beginning of the movie, but that's kind of the whole. He makes a power reactor, an arc reactor. That's what powers his suit in the long run. But it's basically free energy. It's a perpetual machine. I don't know exactly how it works, but that's essentially what it is.
Sounds like a fusion generator.
Yeah, maybe it's a fusion generator. I'm not exactly sure, but why wouldn't it be from Tesla? Everyone else is stealing Tesla's designs. I wouldn't be surprised if the fake Tony Stark took it. All right, let's see. Spice 2019 says, I realize Tim isn't there, but just wanting to say thanks. He shouldn't feel bad for the 10 a.m. video. We True Pool stands will still support him. Yeah, I guess he did a video today at 10, and he was wrong. And that's what I like about Tim. He owns up to it. He did another video. He's not taking the first one down. He just did another video and said, hey, you know what? I was wrong. I learned. Here's the new information. And I love that. I feel like we need to be able to do that as a society. We rip people apart for making mistakes. And it doesn't matter, even if obviously it's not that big of a deal. What he did, he was just reporting some news that happened in the morning. But man, humans should be allowed to learn and improve themselves, even if they make a mistake.
Yeah, that's why I'd want
times
to do
change,
those retractions or clarifications at the beginning today.
Yeah, if you apologize and you truly mean it, then
it's almost like I don't care if you're right all the time, but if you're able to acknowledge your own mistakes, I like you so much more.
Yes, I love that. If you can acknowledge, hey, you know what? I want to say I was wrong. Let's talk about it. I want you to know I was wrong.
The balls to go out and speak.
Yeah.
Just in general, that takes a lot of courage.
Yeah. We're all Tim Pool fans over here too, by the way.
T-Bone.
I don't know if you guys know that.
T-Maniac.
All right, let's see. But anyways, thanks for that, Spice. Appreciate you. All right. Let's see. Midlands 1072 Production says, hey, Adam and Co. The book I mentioned last Monday should arrive at the P.O. Box tomorrow. My one question for you is the main character a terrorist? I don't know. I haven't seen your book yet. I guess I will you'll have to wait on that answer. Rowan O'Neill says, the Great Pyramid is the exact geometric replica of Earth. Yeah, I actually saw this in one of the documentaries I was watching. It's the base of the pyramid is exactly the width of the Earth, and the tip of the pyramid would be where the pole would be, exactly. So here we actually got a globe. The pyramid would be at the equator, the exact dimensions. Really cool. Man, the pyramids are really cool. We really figured out something back then.
The moon is the exact diameter of the sun. When it's between us and the sun, it's the exact shape of the sun.
It's pretty cool.
What is going on?
Sacred geometry, man.
It's magnetic. It's something.
I love it.
It's a generic way of describing it.
I love it. BBTD, thanks again. It's a good time to give thanks for the entertainment, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
And you super chatted a couple times. I really appreciate you. Thank you. King Shiznit says, need one for Last Wish raid tonight. You in? Wow, I haven't played Destiny 2 in a while, and I love Destiny 2. I am a really big fan of Destiny 2. I haven't played it in a while because none of my real life friends that I game with play Destiny 2 anymore, and I'm kind of bummed. Tim and I used to play Destiny a lot. He used to be more of a gamer until he went super into this job. This is his life. This is what he does now, and I'm still playing some games. Currently I'm playing Doom Eternal battle mode. I was playing the solo version, and I love multiplayer games. Multiplayer games is where it's at. I've always just preferred playing with my buddies, and but to answer your question, I would totally be down. I love it. Sveen R. Carlson says, Soy Squad went balls deep. Yes, we did. We went deep dive into Tesla and talking pyramid stuff, ancient everything.
Every day.
It's great. See, Chuck Morris says, UFO spinning faster than the globe. Time travel? Yeah, the globe changes depending on the amount of light that hits it. I actually had Tim's beanie here. I don't know if you guys seen. I have his actual beanie, and I put it on top of the globe just as, just to kind of keep Tim with us. And the globe stops spinning. So I'll leave that on there. Maybe we'll see it. It'll slow down. Is it slowing down already?
Yeah.
Look at that.
That's great.
Well, kind of. I don't know, but maybe after a while. But yeah, time travel. Who knows? The aliens must know something. Connie B says China has a lot of pyramids, Mesoamerican type. They plant trees on them to hide them. I did actually hear about this, and that's interesting. I don't know too much about it, but if they are out there, they probably won't tell us anyway.
Have you talked about the expanding Earth? Did you guys ever go into expanding Earth before?
We touched on it a little bit.
Man, if the Earth is expanding, which it might be, and it was all just one landmass before, which is why...
Whoa, supposedly.
Possibly, theoretically.
So there's this theory that the Earth used to be a lot smaller and one big landmass with no water, which doesn't make sense. Where did all the water come from?
It just pools. I think what happened was as it twisted open, hydrogen would spew out of the inside and mix with the oxygen in the air to create water.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. I guess that Tim and I talked about it. This is what they used to believe before they even knew about tectonic plates. So they didn't know about like the moving of the different plates creating, volcanoes and everything. So that was just kind of like the leading theory at the time in the past.
And if that's not true, then maybe there was less water or people had big boats and they were able to transport this knowledge of pyramids around the Earth. But they are like in China, Malaysia, South America.
South America. Yeah, they are. On the Incan Peninsula. Yeah, they're there. It's really cool. Yeah, they're all over the place. I really am into this. Kubomi says, have some of my Trump bucks for being awesome. Well, thank you. That's very nice of you. I appreciate that. Very nice. J. Manny again says, is it possible thousands of years ago there was the North or South Pole? The poles have been proven to have moved. This is a whole new thing, actually, that someone actually tweeted at me when I post on Twitter, like, what should I talk about? And someone said the pole's shifting. And there is some scientists that say the poles have been leaning and weakening to possibly change. Look at this. Look how slow the Earth is going right now. And then I kind of dug into this. Sorry to get sidetracked there with the Earth, but I dug into it a little bit, and I guess that's kind of what happened with the rainforest being in Antarctica, because it's not that it would be a full polar shift north-south to south-north. It was basically saying they only shifted about halfway through. So the Earth actually spun, like rolling like this instead of sideways.
This mirrors anti-gravity, the way that you want to catch the spin of an electron. Actually, you go after, I think, the subatomic spin. And what you want to do is create a resonating frequency that is spinning at the same... Okay, I'm going to mess this up totally. So if you're an expert on anti-gravity, get with it. But what happens is it starts to spin sideways really quick and then back to center. And you want to match it up so that you can catch it when it goes sideways and then kind of control the direction of the spin, whether it's spinning vertical
what is
or
this
horizontal.
for, though? What is it?
So the Earth is spinning like this, horizontal, and then it dips and starts to spin. But I think it happens really fast. So really fast cosmologically, to us, it would take millions or thousands of years. But on the grand scheme, if you sped up the universe, it would look like it like a top spins so fast, it's all of a sudden like that, and then back up. And then
interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know enough about it because I just started digging into it, but it is actually kind of cool. Maybe we should dig into it. Modern Fighter 407 says, enjoying the break from all the Rona news. Thanks. Yes, I am also really enjoying the not talking about what's going on in the globe right now because it's crazy. King Shiznit says, so yes, ? Our clan has 5 people. Only 5 people in your whole clan. King Shiznit again says, how about them self-contained terrariums? Oh yeah, those are actually really cool. The globes that you don't have to do anything to. I think they need to be in sunlight though, actually, because they need the sun energy.
What is it?
It's basically like a full ecosystem that sits in a globe, a self-contained sealed globe, and it's got I would say precipitation, but it's actually just the plants take the sun energy, turn it, and I don't know how exactly it works, but
they're small.
Yeah. Well, usually it's about this big, maybe the size of that globe.
Did you hear about that Biodome Project? We should do a story
what are you talking
on this,
about?
where
Like,
they lived
like the
inside of
biosphere?
they lived inside of
I've been in it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I've actually, it's in Arizona, like 20, 30 miles north of where my mom's at. And I went there. I walked through it, took a tour, and it was really cool.
It's open now, right?
Yeah, it's more of like a tour slash, there are scientists that do live there, but they're not sealed in or anything. This was like back in the 90s when they sealed it in.
Did people really go crazy when they were sealed in there?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
They were there for like a year or maybe 2 years or something. I'm not sure exactly.
I should explain. From my knowledge, they created like one of these terrariums, but it was a large dome, and they had people go in and say, "Yes, I volunteer. I'll go live inside of it in a sealed environment."
Well, they were scientists that they were doing. It's called the biosphere.
Okay.
And they were doing tests and trying to grow food to see if they could like have a full self-sustaining system. It's really interesting, and it's kind of a shame that they stopped, because now we're going to the moon, and all that research would have been really helpful if we kept at it. One of the coolest thing about that was they have these big, huge air bladders to handle, because you'd think about the pressure inside. If it changed when the sun hit it, if it was like hotter, the air would expand or shrink in the wintertime, it would blow out the windows, and they were like trying to figure out how that is, and there's these huge air bladders, and what it is it's this like deep water pool, and these huge rubber like bladder is the best way to talk about it. And what it would do, it would raise and lower depending on the season and the temperature, so that the air would be regulated. It's really cool.
The walls, were they like a bladder, or were they actual hard glass?
If you think about it, the biosphere was here, and then there was this underground tunnel system that had it was like a huge air conditioning system essentially, and it would travel and it would provide the oxygen, but the bladders would be over in a different area.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was close by, but it was like 100 yards away. But
so it would handle the excess or
exactly. Yeah, it was cool. It was a really good, interesting tour. Sorry, where were we?
Terrariums.
Yeah, the terrariums are cool. Control-Delete says, Bob Lazar said that the Project Looking Glass was about time dilation technology, and Q talks about the Project Looking Glass. Could Q be the next John Teeter? I don't know much about any of that.
Bob Lazar worked at Area 51.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And he came out and basically said, I saw all these craft one day, and there was I don't know how many, 9 different types of craft that he said he saw. Some people, I have a good friend, his YouTube channel is The Alien Scientist. He's a genius, and he's done a lot of anti-gravity research too. And he said, tried to debunk a lot of Bob Lazar's work, but Bob did work at Area 51, and according to Bob, he saw, I've never heard of this time dilation thing, but he saw a lot of craft, according to Bob.
Don't you think it's more like it would happen to be something with Tesla's work about free energy pulled out of the air, that they could probably figure out how to power all this stuff?
It makes sense if you have lightweight aluminum craft, some kind of like magnesium, aluminum.
Yeah,
CERMET.
Tesla's work is everywhere, and it just makes me think that they confiscated all of it. I guess it's Trump's uncle. I don't know if that's true, but a couple people super chatted me saying that Trump's uncle got all the Tesla stuff.
That's deep.
It's like, man, they got to know something. Midland Production says, should have said when you have read it. Sorry. Yeah, I guess when I read that book. But hey, thanks for sending us stuff, and you can actually send us stuff at our PO box. I don't even know where to give you that information, so I think it's somewhere on Tim's site. You can probably find it somewhere, but I do appreciate you. So let's get over to our last subject. What is the Artemis program? This is really cool. I love space, everything. I've always loved it. I honestly wanted to join the Air Force when I was a kid to eventually be an astronaut one day, and unfortunately I'm colorblind, and I learned that I couldn't even join the Air Force, and it really bummed me out as a kid. So I kind of ended my astronaut plans. But let's talk about it, because the other day we were talking about why are we going to Mars when we should be going to the moon, and it turns out we're going to the moon, and for the exact reason why I thought they should. So I'm just going to read it here. It says, Artemis is NASA's new lunar exploration program, which includes sending the first woman and the next man on the moon. Through the Artemis program, NASA will use new technology to study the moon in a new and better ways and prepare for human missions to Mars. It says, why is this program called Artemis? The first missions to take astronauts to the moon were called the Apollo program. In 1961, President John F. Kennedy challenged the nation to land astronauts on the moon by the end of the decade. NASA met that challenge with the Apollo program, landing the first man on the moon July 20th, 1969. That program was named after the Greek god, or Greek mythology, or after a god of Greek mythology, Apollo. Artemis was Apollo's twin sister and the goddess of the moon in Greek mythology. Interesting, I didn't know that. When they land, Artemis astronauts will stand where no human has ever stood, the moon's south pole. Then they keep asking more questions. What spacecraft will be used for the Artemis program? NASA's new rocket is the Space Launch System, the SLS. It's the most powerful rocket ever in the world. SLS will carry the Orion spacecraft with up to 4 astronauts riding aboard to lunar orbit. Then astronauts will dock Orion with a small spacecraft called the Gateway. This is where astronauts will prepare for missions to the moon and beyond. The crew will take trips from the Gateway to the lunar surface in a new human landing system, then return to the Gateway. When their work is finished, the crew will return to Earth aboard Orion. When will Artemis go to the moon? Before Apollo put the first human on the moon, the first Apollo missions launched to test the rocket and equipment. Before Artemis carries a crew to the moon, NASA will test the rocket and spacecraft in flight and then send a crew for a test flight. Artemis 1 will be a test flight and the SLS rocket with the Orion spacecraft with no crew. Artemis 2 will fly SLS and Orion with a crew past the moon, then circle it, and then return to Earth. This trip will be the farthest away any human has gone into space. And then Artemis 3 will send a crew with the first woman and the next man to land on the moon by 2024. That is only 4 years away. So I actually did hear that they have postponed. This might have been a little bit old, this article. I think it's from last summer. But I did hear because of coronavirus, of course, they've had to postpone this a little bit. Hopefully not too much. But it's still really exciting that we're going to see this. The next question is, when will Artemis astronauts, or what will Artemis astronauts do on the moon? It says, the Artemis 3 crew will visit the moon's south pole. No one has ever been there. At the moon, astronauts will, 1, search for the moon's water and use it, study the moon to discover its mysteries, learn how to live and work on the surface of another celestial body where astronauts are just 3 days from home. So I guess that's like prepping for Mars. It's smart, it makes sense. And then lastly, test the technologies we need before sending astronauts on missions to Mars, which can lead up to 3 years round trip. And that's because Mars is only 7 months away, but the problem is it's only in the perfect alignment for us to launch and get there because it has a different orbit around the sun. So every 2 years, I believe, we're close enough to launch to it. And so that's something that we're going to have to worry about also. It's not like every 7 months we can just send a new spacecraft out there. And the last one is, why is the Artemis program important? The moon is a good place to learn new science. When astronauts study new places on the lunar surface, NASA will learn more about the moon, Earth, and even the sun. The moon is a test bed for Mars. A test bed is a place to prove that technology or an idea will work. The moon is a place to demonstrate that astronauts will one day be able to work away from Earth on Mars for long periods of time. The first missions to the moon require NASA to develop new technology. Many of those technologies have been made into items people use on Earth in their everyday lives. NASA is working with businesses and companies to create new technology for Artemis missions. Making new technology helps businesses grow and create more jobs on Earth. Other nations will work with NASA as partners. Just as partners work together on the International Space Station, they will work on Artemis to bring the world together for a mission to Earth's nearest neighbor in space. That's really cool. And I really hope that that last line is true, you know, because it really feels like I say we, but humans in general, it seems like we're trying to maintain this this separation. You know, we're Americans, the Chinese, the Russians, the everything else. It's like we're all human, and that's what I love about NASA right now and the International Space Station. I mean, we've been using Russian rockets. They've been flying us out there. All of our astronauts speak Russian. They're fluent in Russian. They learn Russian, so they can work together with the Russians and fly up there and be scientists together. And that's amazing. There's something so cool about that. I had no idea. You know, I was watching. I love space everything. But I was watching the Scott Kelly documentary on Netflix. Really cool. It goes about, you know, what it feels like for him to go up there and spend a year. And all of a sudden he's chatting in Russian with his co-pilot or actually I think it was the pilot that was flying the Suarez rocket. Soyuz.
Oh yeah, that's it. Soyuz.
Soyuz, yeah. And man, it was so impressive. It was like, man, like not only are you an astronaut, scientist, but you speak fluent Russian. It's really incredible. And it goes to show like what we've done to really work together for something as amazing as this.
Dude, I'm most excited that there's water on the moon.
Yeah. That's incredible. Well, it says search for the moon's water and use it.
Oh, I see.
So I don't know if that means there is water that we know about, because I had no idea. This is the first line anywhere that I've seen that moon has water on it, if it does. But they're saying they're going to search for it and try to find it. And that's really incredible that they're going to, maybe find water on the moon.
Yeah,
that would be huge. That, you know, we wouldn't have to supply water to any sort of habitat that they build out there.
I heard that a guy that I know, an ex-NASA guy, was working on the space elevator, and they realized that if we're going to build a space elevator, it would be on the moon. That would do it on the moon first. Yeah, it's way easier. The low gravity
no
makes
atmosphere.
it super easy.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So that we wouldn't have to fly down and land. We would just fly in and dock.
Yeah, they were talking about flying out to this Orion. I guess they're carrying the SLS, which is the Space Launch System, takes the Orion into lunar orbit, and then they take the gateway ship down to the planet.
Yeah, exactly.
So this Orion spaceship, I was like picturing it as like a space station, like eventually.
Yeah, basically like the ISS of the lunar ISS, essentially. Yeah, that's cool.
It's not yet. We're flying Orion back and forth, but eventually.
And even the ISS alone is amazing. It's been. We've had humans in space since like 2001 or something like that. I don't know exactly what date we first occupied space, but since that time we have had humans in space consistently, and that's so cool. Like I don't know why we don't glorify these scientists that are like
you made a good
on
point.
A cutting edge,
like because of the video games. Like you can be an astronaut in Space Engineers or in No Man's Sky. So.
Yep.
The fact that people really are living in space is amazing.
Yeah, you know, even I guess this Out of Shadows documentary, I was watching it, and they kind of talk about how video games and people, getting killed in video games, it's almost like desensitizing people to what getting killed is in real life. Watching someone actually get killed, that's why these kids are like okay with killing people, because they're desensitized. Not just video games, but movies, everything. Like the realism of movies, it's so normalized now, the realisticness of it. So people are seeing it and they're like, okay, sure, people are dying, yeah, all right, whatever.
I had a messed up personal experience when I was working at Mines as an admin, and the Christchurch shooting went off, and the guy was wearing a head cam. No, it was all these posts on Mines about it, of the video, because the guy took a head cam video of him popping like 30 or 40 people. Man. And people were editing the video with the Doom guy, the Doom health bar and the ammo underneath.
That's messed up. That's like, exactly. It's that desensitization that people are, they don't connect to what that actually is. It's just a movie to them. It's just more of what they know. Man. Well, I don't want to stray too far from what we're talking about, because I also have this really interesting thing that they're planning to do. This is the Lunar Crater Radio Telescope, the LCRT, on the far side of the moon. So this is really cool what they're planning on doing. I don't know if you can't really see it. Can I zoom in a little bit? Here we go. Yeah, nice. Okay. So So you can see they're planning on dropping in here. This actually shows you what they're going to do. They're going to have one thing at the bottom here, and then they're going to have a rover that's going to drop these lines, and they're going to create a radio telescope on the far side of the moon. Can I zoom in on that? Yeah, here we go. You can kind of see it a little bit here. So it's going to be totally on the other side. We're not going to have, and there's going to be no satellites. I was actually talking about this yesterday about how satellites are going to kind of ruin our telescopes, but it seems like they've got that figured out. They're going to actually build one on the other side of the moon. So there's going to be nothing between that telescope and the stars. So who knows what that's going to find. But that's really cool. So this is some of the things that are going to be coming out of this Artemis project. It's really going to prep us for going to Mars. Since like it's really becoming a reality to me. Like I can't wait to see someone walk on the moon. Like I know there's videos and the whole thing. I wasn't alive then, and it's been 50 years. Man, it's been so long, and to see that is going to be really incredible for me. I'm really looking forward to the day that I see. I mean, the whole like first woman, and then the first American woman. They keep adding the American, and then the next American man, and it's like, let's let that go. I mean, I like that it's going to be there's going to be a woman. That's cool. I like that, but just drop the like. I love America. I'm not trying to say I'm like anti-America or anything, but. We gotta they said it. They're gonna be working together. There's gonna be other countries banding together, working on this, and it's cool. This is a huge step for mankind. That's what he said when he first stepped on the moon. It's a huge step for mankind. He didn't say a huge step for Americans. That would have been weird,
Yeah.
Because it is. We have to come together, or else we're gonna kill each other.
One of the great things about America is that we're in a place where we can not have to worry about our country. Like I feel like we kind of took a step back into the nationalist movement in the early 2000s, but we're secure. We're in a place where like states' rights, individual rights. Let's globalize that concept.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's like I mean the whole like New World Order thing, and it's like it's got such a bad rap, and I don't want that. I want everyone to maintain. I want everyone to be free. I'm very libertarian in that sense. Like I want to do my own thing. I want you to do your own thing, but I don't want anyone to like be mad at someone else for just doing their thing. I mean, unless that thing is like killing somebody,
right? Like structuralized freedom.
I'm gonna have an issue with that. Right.
In the U.S., we have we have freedom, which is like in quotes, but it's like within the bounds of laws that we create. So it's not, you're not free to like go outside and scream in people's faces and knock them down and kick them and burn things and explode. Like you're very
a true they say a true libertarian argue that we should be able to like sell kids heroin, and it's like no, that's a terrible idea. I don't agree with that. But there needs to be, like you just said, structured. It makes sense.
I am so excited to terraform Mars.
Really?
We have a board game
going
upstairs
all the way there.
called Terraform
Mars. You mean play the game or to actually terraform
all of the above? Yeah, we should do.
We haven't played it yet. Why have we not played that?
I don't. A lot of magic.
Would you guys want to watch us play games? Are you guys interested in that? I don't even know if they want to watch that, but I don't know.
Could be good if the cameras are right.
Yeah, maybe play some Magic or something.
We should do a terraforming episode.
Yeah,
Talk about all the ways we can terraform other planets.
I don't know anything about it.
I
know that they have plans.
Like nuking the poles,
heating up the atmosphere, heating
seed
up
bombing.
Mars. Yeah, something about it.
You can drop seeds from orbit.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So let's we're pretty much done. We only got one super chat.
All right, what is it?
Kevin Lyon says this show is hard to fap to. Well,
one step at a time.
Well, yeah, one step at a time. That's not really our goal. But thank you for the super chat. Oh, everyone seems to there's an overwhelming yes to playing games.
That'd be really fun.
But maybe on the second channel, everyone seems to be really into it. But listen, once Tim gets back, TimcastIRL will resume being TimcastIRL. We'll do a lot of more of what Tim is really good at, and I'll be the soy Jesus again. This is more like, we're just using it. If you guys want to hang out, it's wonderful. I love it that you guys are hanging out with us. We're just kind of doing our thing, holding up the fort while Tim's gone. So the show will eventually turn back to normal, and I think me and Ian are definitely going to do our own thing, and we'll probably I mean, we're both gamers. We'll definitely be talking more games, more science, more really cool random things.
Orbital platform structure. Yeah.
So and if you want to invite me to a Destiny 2 raid, hopefully you're on PlayStation, because that's what I play on. And hit me up. It is Riverwind it's RLVERWLND. So it's Riverwind with L's instead of I's because Riverwind was taken.
Yep. If you guys want to follow me, it's Ian Crossland on do
follow
Twitter
us.
too, because I really like the way you can send data on Twitter back and forth. It's really fun. So hit me up on Twitter and YouTube.
Yeah, you can hit me up. Hit me up on Twitter with any ideas to do on the show. Everyone pretty much hits me up all the time. I really appreciate everyone that does. You guys help me out a lot finding new cool stories to talk about. So I really appreciate it. So thank you very much, and we'll see you. Actually, you know what? I might as well take this time to say I'm going to be watching the Joe Rogan show on Monday. I don't know when the show is, but I'm fairly certain it's going to take place when we would have done our show. So there's probably not going to be a show on Monday because I want to watch that Joe Rogan show because that's the whole reason Tim's out there.
Shout out to the channel. Hit the like button and the bell. Subscribe if you like what you got.
Yeah.
And we're going to give you more, including Tim Pool and Lydia, because they'll be back soon.
They'll be back eventually. But thanks again, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next week.